Good morning everybody, thank you for coming along. Whilst we have technical issues, because that's the world we live in, technology moves so fast that we have to stay with it. So my name is Rodgers, I'm the founder and managing director of a company called Rewind, and we're a VR production studio. We're actually a content production studio, but for us VR is about 70% of the work that we do at the moment, and that's been a massive shift. Seeming that VR really didn't exist 3.5 years ago. My bank manager asked me what my 5 to 10 year business plan was. He said it wasn't to do VR, that's for sure. So I'm not going to write another 5 to 10 year business plan because God knows what new technology is going to come out in the next few years. Admittedly, we make content. So VR content for us is the same as when we produce video content or games content, or we're now working in mixed reality, merged realities, and experimental technology. They're all about communicating, telling stories. Helping people sell things is a lot of our work at the moment, but also generating new narratives. And we're beginning to see the turn from, instead of being content that's paid for, to content which is for consumers. We are in luck. Let's see if the magic green button works. We're in. So, this talk this morning is to talk about the difference between hype and hope. There's a huge amount of hype about VR for many, many reasons. A lot of it is powered by those lovely venture capitalists, sort of people that want to invest lots of money and see it make them lots of money in the long run. But a large group of us have been trying to slow the process down slightly to make sure that the content we produce is good, so that when the consumers start to experience virtual reality, that they really enjoy it. It's not just a flash in the pan, it's not just a cheese roller coaster or some other terrible bit of... I hope the person isn't here to make the cheese roller coaster, but there was a thing where you went around a fridge and you could be on a roller coaster, so it made you feel sick for a start, because VR in motion isn't a bad thing, and how is it going to help you sell more cheese? I'm not sure. So, a little bit. We're very lucky. We're a global leader in VR production, which I think is hilarious, seeing my studio is based in St Albans, a nice village outside of London. But that's because we've been making good content for the last 3 years. I'm going to talk you through a little bit about what we're doing, a little bit about what we've done in the past. I'm going to delve deeply into 3 pieces of content. I'm going to talk about Home, which is our BBC project, where you get to be Tim Peake, which is over in the exhibition area over the way. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bjork as well, and a piece of 360 content we did recently. First of all, I'm just going to show you a 60-second trailer of the sort of stuff that we've been doing literally in the last 12 months. You might want to change the audio, it's quite loud. Or turn it up, actually, because that's really quiet. Is that just my laptop playing? Imagine really big new audio. It sounds amazing. Really various stuff. VR is, as you can see, at the core of that sort of stuff, but it's anything from driving cars to tweetable vending machines, drivable deck chairs, and other strange bits of technology. Recently, though, I've done lots of this sort of thing, and that's mainly because because of the content we've worked on. A lot of people like you would like me to talk about it, and I feel very lucky and very proud that a lot of people, I'm actually their first time when I've been talking to someone, actually had someone explain what VR is. Anything from a couple of people in Dublin with Google to Financial Times to 8,000 people in that little stadium in Las Vegas, which was a scary room to walk into. And we've worked with these people, and this is literally the last 12 months. It's been a very, very busy year, and it's changed rapidly. And all of these people are looking into VR production. And this is just a selection of people that want to consult, talk about, generate, and create content. So I really honestly believe that there's hope behind VR. It is not, as someone asked me, isn't it just the same as 3D TV? I felt like slapping. No, it's not. It's a whole new medium. We're the 15th most influential VR brand, which I think is hilarious. Again, that's just a Twitter look-up, I'm sure, but I'll take the award. And we run VRLA, which is like virtual reality London. It's like VRLA, but in London. There's about just over 1,000 members get together every 3 months to share, to experience, to communicate and develop. So it's everyone together moving forward. We won an award with Lord Marlin, who's Conservative in Technology. This is out in LA. He's a lovely man, likes to do whiskey. And we did a lot of work with the BBC. So we've done a whole BBC Click episode in 360 video. It was also edited down to 16:9. We also done BBC News and also a BBC 3 documentary called The Virtual Virgin, which I didn't quite realise how much they would escalate the TV show. And I asked my granny to watch it, and she sent me a message midway through saying not safe for grannies, which I thought was quite sweet. It was to do with human interaction and adult relationships within virtual space, which is basically sex. I don't work in that industry, never have, never will, otherwise I wouldn't work with all the other lovely people that I work with, but I can tell you some terms not to Google, especially in these sort of places. This is Tony Hall, BBC Director General, and a really scared R&D lady, praying he liked what he saw. And this is him watching the Bjork piece, which was really lovely. He watched the entire thing, it's about 6 or 7 minutes long, and his time is very precious, and he just was enjoying it. And I'll talk about that later. And so this is the sort of stuff that we've been creating. One of these plays a bit audio, I do apologise for remembering. So, Dancing with the Stars, Driving Through the Desert, floating down into Qatar 2022 Stadium, you get 6 penalty kicks as the Qatari team against Brazil, so that's obviously how that's going to finish. Selling properties in New York and Knightsbridge, so you can explore real estate or estate agents if we get there. Driving with the Stig. Thank you. Always remember that one's in there. Hanging around with the Turkish soccer team, flying through the air up to the Rolls-Royce factory, driving around with Astons and singing with Bjork and anywhere in between. And the strange thing is that all of that counts as VR. It's such a broad term. So we started talking about, like, saying the word television. So television isn't a format, it isn't a genre, it isn't hardware, it's a whole bunch of things together. And VR has that breadth, in fact, a larger breadth than that. So the first thing I do when someone asks me if they want to create some VR content, I really have to drill down what they mean. Do they mean 360 video? Do they mean stereo video? Do they mean game engine driven? Do they mean a game? Do they mean a piece of content? Is it for an exhibition, for an installation? What hardware are we viewing it back on? Where are we viewing it? How's the distributor? It becomes an endless mess. And that's because it's so new. There are no right or wrong answers, but the people at the other end often don't know quite what they're asking for. So it's an education more than anything else. So, and I'll talk about the different flavors in my opinion. It's going to be one of those interactive sessions, everybody. It's a wide VR. Big, stupid statements like this. Fundamentally changing the entertainment landscape, or unprecedented evolution in VR, a market by 13,000%, and graphs with millions of headsets being sold pretty soon, and graphs with billions of dollars worth of being invested in more billions of dollars, and hype curves were on the right side, but it was never on the wrong side, it kind of jumped it, and radars with so many people interested in this, going inwards towards this nexus. We just need to take a breath, really. It's pretty swift. In reality, by the end of last year, we had about 7 million people consuming virtual reality content, and a lot of that was actually in the Google Cardboard space, and a lot of it was just 360 video. That's where a lot of the space was. We reckon by 2018 there'll be about 170 million people that want to consume VR in all of its flavors, and also those people will have their own VR headsets. So there are some very large ones, the Ferraris of the world, the Rifts, the Vibes, the PlayStation VRs and beyond. There's the consumer market, and then there's the mobile market. I'll talk about that too. So what's different this time? Sadly, we did try VR, and I only touched on this, everyone's seen the history before, but some people think this is VR, my mum thinks this is what VR is.
One day you'll be a beautiful butterfly. I'm falling! I mean, I'm not really falling, but it feels like I'm falling. Oh, I think I'm gonna throw up. What is that? Thank you. I will treasure this forever. Thank you for letting me into your land. Thank you. All of you. All of you.
That's kind of right. I banged my head into the table while trying to do some development work. But it was this thing's fault. It was kind of like, it was awful technology, awful hardware, made you feel sick. For some reason, everyone seemed to try it at like a festival in the summer where it was hot and sweaty. But it's like a naughty school kid who told it to go and sit on the naughty step and not come back until it realised what it had done. It took like 20 years to come back. But we have had head-mounted display systems before. This is a real one. That's a projector in the back and a curved screen. No idea why she's sitting in front of Windows TV, but hey, you make your own ones. They are, I don't recommend it. Their optics are terrible. But these guys were up to something about 3.5, 4 years ago. And really they were trying to do this. I feel brave, I feel safe, there's a distance. I am a huge geek, and I do want a holodeck. Not that, but that's kind of cool. More this, I want to be able to step into another universe, and VR gives us that power to teleport you and transport you anywhere. Not just a reality, but any reality. So Palmer, we all know the story, wanted $250,000 on Kickstarter, got all the bits in the right place. Classic Silicon Valley in his garage, of course. Raised $2.5 million, which was still one of the fundamentally one of the best Kickstarters of all time. Sold for $2 billion without releasing a single product. Bloody good going, really. And then sold out in about 2 hours on pre-orders. So if there ever was hope and hype at the same time, this is the story. And it really did set a chain reaction of other companies getting into the space. And companies like us suddenly realizing that the tools are right there. And this is what we did on day 3 when we got our headset. So that's a DK1. That's an old Dell laptop in a backpack. Razer Hydra, which tracked your hands and connect to around. I had a space about half the size of this, and I could explore it. I could go anywhere within the space. So I had my holodeck. Low resolution tracking was weird, technology wasn't there. But I suddenly realized that I had what I wanted. So we went in full ball. I said, I want to create the best content I can within that space. But it's about these, really, and this is where most of the hype is. Head-mounted display systems, HMDs. Those are the screens, basically. So at the top we have things with no hardware. They all need a smartphone to drive them, the Google Hardballs, the Viewmasters of the world. The middle of the row is headsets with technology. They're essentially mobile phone driven, so you've got the Gear VR, you've got the Daydream, can't quite see the OSVR. And then at the bottom we've got the big players. We've got PlayStation VR in the corner, the Vive, the Rift, and the HoloLens, which I'll talk about briefly. And I just found this. I want that headset. It's just someone's like design theory of what VR will be in the future. Kind of makes it look really cool. But Gear VR released their newest one, and that's the most popular there is out at the moment. They've sold definitely the most number of headsets. Admittedly, they gave them away with their phones, and they're definitely selling more phones because they made the headset, so it's a good thing. But the technology they've put inside it is from Oculus. So when you plug your phone into the device, it gets a boost of tracking. And it also starts making the phone work in a much better way for VR. So if you haven't tried it already, who's tried a Gear VR? Converted, I'm fine. Who's tried an Oculus Rift, CV1? Oh, this is a good crowd, I like that. So that's very good. They're a little bit slow, they haven't released the hand things yet. They're kind of got a bit corporate, a bit heavy because of the money, but they'll get that. The Vive, who's tried Vive? This is good. And Vive to me is the best VR headset there is out there because they've changed the way it works. Because it works on room scale, because I can wander around within a 5x5, 6x6 meter space, and I can create anything. That's my holodeck. It's already there in front of us. The interesting one about the PSVR, I doubt, has anyone tried PSVR? Just me. Oh, one person back. It's coming out in October. It's very cheap, $400, plugged into your PlayStation VR, into your PlayStation 4, which means there's an install base of 50 million people out there, roughly, with PlayStation 4s who can get into VR incredibly cost effective. The device isn't quite as good as the others, but it's half the price, and it's not a multiplier worse, it's just a little worse. And if some of the rumors are true about maybe being able to plug it into PCs, suddenly we have a huge boost. So we think anyone who's making VR content needs to be aware that PSVR will be the one which has the biggest uptake fastest. By Christmas, we reckon about 5 million, easily, just because it's almost it's an expensive Christmas present kind of price. Daydream's coming out, which is Google's kind of platform. They're just trying to put a stake in the sand. This is how to say how you do mobile VR. It will come with a controller. These guys are doing something. I mean, I don't have any NDAs, so I can't say one way or the other, but I will eat a fruit-based hat if something doesn't come out pretty soon, especially as Tim Cook's interviews are beginning to talk about how important AR and AI is to their future business. So we've had 130 years to do film, and we're really good at it. Like I cry at Wally, which is a cartoon, but it's because of the editing, the directing, the sound design, the storytelling, and everything else takes me on an emotional journey. We've spent years crafting it so that we have a suspension of disbelief, and I forget I'm sitting in a seat, and I'm in that world, and it just chucks me up. 40 years to do current gaming, and if you played any modern Xbox, PlayStation game, or PC game, they're really good. Really well designed, really well thought out. We've become craftsmen of these sort of areas. It takes 3 years to do VR. I've had enough of people standing in conferences saying we don't know what we're doing in VR. It's like, we bloody do know what we're doing in VR. We've made some amazing stuff. The sad thing is though that every time we make a project, we would do it differently if we did it again. Because every single piece is a learning exercise. There's no perfect piece of content yet. So it's an iterative process. And we've only had 3 years to iterate, so it's going to get better and better and better and better. But content is king, they always say that, and in fact content is so important in this space. But bad content in any medium is still bad. And I've been saying this for years. VR is no magic bullet, it's no silver thing that's going to help you through this. In fact, it's worse. If you put people, if me and you want to watch a crappy B movie, we can sit here and talk to each other and mess around with Candy Crush or whatever else we're going to play, we'll go. And then we can kind of enjoy it, but it's not there. But in VR, it's your reality. It's stuck on your face. You can't get away from it. The only thing to do is rip the headset off and run away. And if hopefully that whatever we've seen hasn't actually made us physically feel ill. Some B movies do make you feel ill, but not quite that badly. So we have to be careful with the content we create, especially at this moment, because a lot of people like yourself and everybody else in the world, that first time they try VR is formative. It will help them define whether they want to see more of it, engage with more of it, buy a headset, get into the space, or whether they ignore it. So most of the content over the road is curated. It's very, very good stuff because we're trying to push that forward as a community, let alone myself. So flavors of VR, and I talked about this before, but to me there are so many areas, but I bookend it. On one end we have 360 video. So this is the gateway drug. This is how we enter virtual reality. It's 360 video cameras. There are some amazing ones out there. And at the other end is what we call VRX, or they've just started calling it VRE. It's a virtual reality experience. And this is game engine driven. So it's not a game. There are no winners and losers. There's a story crafted within it. And then there's anything kind of in between, and terminology we don't really have yet. So there's cinematic, there's hybrid, and all of this really is going from something which is linear, non-interactive, it plays out like a film, we press play, we see the content, and then we come out the other end, to truly interactive. But to me, I'm more talking about the difference between storytelling to story living. And for me, VR is in the story living end of content. Storytelling is directed and crafted, and that's great, we're very good at that. Once you get into 360 video, because there is no frame, no close-up, no zooms, we lose a bunch of cinematography language we've spent ages crafting. But we've given the user the ability to be transported to that position, to that place. But now we've moved them there, and to tell them now they have no ability to move, change, ask questions, do something differently, feels like a stumbling block. The only thing is, though, that we have 1.9 billion smartphone users in the world, and all of them can enjoy 360 video. And 360 video docked with a piece of cardboard for $1, suddenly they can access VR. So it's going to be a huge thing for the next few years. Plus, anyone that's worked in film, VRE is very, very scary because it's game development. It doesn't fit in anything they understand, where video does. I can edit it, I can grade it, I can think about it. So there is really a difference between both ends. But like I said before, they all count as virtual reality currently. I said in front of a crowd 2 years ago, 360 video isn't VR. I felt very brave about saying it, and then I backpedaled swiftly as companies keep wanting to pay me for 360 video work. I'm like, hey, you can call it VR. But it's a transportive thing. As we go through, the power of these phones will get faster, the graphics cards get faster, which means the content will get better. It really depends on the hardware. So 360 video, this is my pain when anyone asks me to create content. These are all 360 video cameras. And none of them are right. They're all found, used, changed, anything from 6 GoPros, some duct tape and a copy of colour, to 14 red dragons on a car. I'm not sure if the car is to hold it up and it's so heavy or just to protect it. But they're all trying to capture basically the universe all at the same time, so capturing all directions in one go. And they're all fundamentally flawed because they're all separate cameras that are not in the same place. That nodal point where they all rotate around is all moved out slightly. And that difference between each lens means you get ghosting and blurring between each camera. Some people accept it, but that's okay. Coming from visual effects, I know I can fix it. It's just a laborious, painful, expensive process. This is what we did for Strictly. So this was two Red Dragons in stereo with incidental cameras for the back, because all the content was in this direction, so we shot that beautifully, and then we did the best, because actually you just turn around and realise it's sitting next to two other people, and then you watch the content. So it's 360, but it's really concentrating the actions in that direction. These are the big cameras that are coming out, which are beginning to get good. They're not quite there yet. There's the Nokia Ozo, which is $60,000. It's not cheap. But it's a stereoscopic 360 camera. There's a bunch of things they need to improve on version 2, but it's very good. It looks good, and whenever you do a shoot where the directors are a little scared, you use that. It comes out, turns on, looks great. They can tell their bosses they're using an Ozo, it's fine. The reality is that actually, the Google Jump system on the right there is far better. But that is 16 GoPros in an array, which may or may not overheat, kind of, if they feel like it, and a whole bunch of other issues we get to. Then there's Jaunt. Jaunt have a couple of $100 million. They've got a camera system, they've got a cloud system, they've got a platform. They're beginning to get a lot of traction, and their camera's very good. And then the bottom two are the Theta and the Gear 360. These are like the consumer ones. A couple £100, £300, you get them. You dock them with your phone, and they just work. They really just work. The photos are okay, and the video is okay. But do you know what? For something which involves zero post-production and zero cost, it's amazing. In fact, a lot of the clients that we begin to work with, we actually Amazon Prime them a Theta. We send them. It's like, have a go, play, make stuff, understand the medium a little bit. This is a shoot we did recently with Ozo. So a lot of people say don't do motion in VR, mainly because everyone has someone that said VR made them feel sick. We say don't do acceleration. That's the one thing your inner ear vestibular recognizes in motion. It doesn't actually even recognize speed once you've got up to it. So you accelerate the car up to 70 miles an hour, and then once you get to 70 miles an hour, you don't feel the motion anymore. You only feel when you change lane or slow down or speed up. And so that's the bit your brain is filling in. So in this platform, we can move in a linear speed through this room, and as long as we fade in, jump into it on the path, people are okay with it. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. Admittedly, if you do get motion sickness, I'm sorry, this is going to happen. And everyone has various amounts of it. You know, some people can't sit in the back of a car because it makes them feel sick, because they are just that aware of it. Other people can like be reading a novel and don't give a damn. So Oculus themselves and a few other companies are beginning to talk about a comfort rating. The comfort rating is 1 to 5 stars, so that someone like myself who doesn't really get motion sickness knows that I can go into a 1-star experience, which may throw me about, it might throw me off, it might even be a roller coaster, but at least I know what I'm letting myself in for before I go there. Whereas someone else who needs everything to be 5-star, then that's something very different. Facebook have a camera. They released all the plans for free, open source, so you can make your own. It costs about $30,000 a bit. In theory, it's going to be quite good. Admittedly, they spend a lot of money on Facebook. They really want VR to work. And there's a company called Lightro kicking around. They've got a fair amount of investment, and they deal with imaging differently. So instead of thinking about blending one camera with another, it's an array of some number of cameras. So let's say 10,000 small cameras over a circle. And if you have all of these cameras recognizing all of the lights in the space, you actually get a 3D scan, or a version of the world, which means not only can I rotate, but I can move. So you get about a meter by meter area that you can move within the space. And it's going to be very, very, very good. Sadly, it needs this to record on. It records about an hour, and it needs this to play it back. So a little way off what Lightro is, but it's just something to be aware of. It's in the ether. And for me, sadly I don't have my laptop, I can't show you all these videos, but for me, 360 video is good. So watching a video walking around CERN is okay, but standing there in VR is like you've been transported to that point. Suddenly you realise this thing is 9 stories high, the largest science experiment in the world, and it makes you re-evaluate everything, because it's a transportative thing. It's not showing you something, it's making you be there. And 360 video does that. Stereoscopic 360 video is even better. It lets you appreciate depth and size. Sadly, the cameras aren't quite there yet, the delivery medium isn't quite there yet, but most of the stuff that we do currently, we're future-proofing by creating it in 3D. So, engage dimensionality. If you're going to do 360, it should be a reason. Like I said, we're very good at film, so why not use that medium? Don't do it just think it'll fix it. So we talk about the stories that are embedded in it. So we think the primary interest and the secondary and the tertiary. What are these stories that I'm going to get out of it? If you two are just having a conversation there, what was the point of the rest of the 360? other than to give me an opportunity to ignore what you're saying. So, 360, the problem is you've given freedom to people that aren't directors, who aren't storytellers, and told them that they can now choose where the camera's going to be. And they might get really interested in something else, which is fine, as long as they enjoy the experience and you don't mind the fact that they've ignored your product or what you're trying to sell them or anything else. But you can do some clever tricks. So this is often how we storyboard things. So we give ourselves a north, south, east, west, and we start playing with colour and light, but we also play with audio. So in 360, in VR, we can use binaural audio, which is positional. So the human ear can tell the difference between 1 degree of audio separation. It's pretty damn good to know where a sound comes from. It's one of the things that kept us alive from being hunted by things jumping out of bushes. But if I make a noise that sounds like it's back here, you will want to turn around and see what it was. If I have someone talking to you from over here, you will turn around to see them. So binaural audio, they always say in film, 50% of what you see is what you hear, and it's the same thing, in fact more than. Because the headset knows where it is and what it's looking at, you can do some very, very clever stuff with audio. So this is a process, again I can't show the whole thing, but I'll skip through it. This is one we created with 360 recently. This is the normal film, and I'll show you the second one. This is a man doing a backflip over a Formula E car. Has anyone seen this? A couple of you have. So it's a PR stunt, first and foremost, for Formula E, shot in Mexico for various reasons. And so the film itself has got about 6 million views, which is pretty damn good. But they wanted to add additional value. They're going to do it anyway. So we shot it in 360 in 2 locations. The first one being by the track. And so you can see this guy, wait for it. It's still scary as hell. So this is the unwrapped echo-rectangle, otherwise I'll show you the 360 from my laptop in front. But they wanted the ability to show that they did it, so they did it as a proof. We're going to do the thing anyway, so let's let you stand next to the track, or in this case, be the driver, and see what it's like to be him driving at this guy exactly at 55 miles an hour, except every single time, because he's just practicing, went off a beat track. And I didn't realise that they got about 1.5 million views off of this organically, just because people were really interested in seeing it happen. But the idea being that this isn't, partly it's a proof that they did it, but secondly it's that ability to transport you somewhere else and let you live in someone else's shoes and see it from a different point of view. And it is nerve-wracking. So, I'll skip through this because I don't have a huge amount of time, and I'm doing okay. It's not too good. So Bjork, Dickett. Some people love it, some people not so much. Depends on the person. So it's the person I love the music. And this piece, it's called Stone Milk. It was done a year and a half ago. Verse directed it, digital was made in post, we did all the app creation, we released it at the moment. And it's a stereoscopic 360 binaural, it's all good words for what video is. And it's actually an app on iOS and Android and Gear VR. So any of you can download it now. And listen to it with headphones, it really makes the difference. Watching it just on a little screen with a lofty tablet doesn't do it justice. And if you have a VR headset, dock it with that, it changes everything. But in this format, it's really boring. Because we expect close-ups and edits and fast pace and movement and a whole bunch of things that this 16:9 frame lends itself to, and we're very good at it. But this video, when wrapped in 360 and in the headset, it's so powerful because I'm standing there 3 or 4 feet away, which is the distance you let your friend stand, and it's the distance you have when you have a conversation. And she's singing to you, and she looks at you in the eyes, and it's a performance that makes you feel so special that people watch the entire thing, come out of it almost calming and elated, some people in tears. Admittedly, massive Bjork fans are criers, but there's a lot of people come out crying, which I thought was really powerful. And it's simple. It just transports you to a beach, somewhere near where she lives, and she sings with you. And so for me, whenever I'm trying to communicate the type of content that can be created out there, you don't have to do flashy things in VR. It's so powerful as a medium, as is, just to put someone in someone else's shoes. The other thing about it is that obviously it did very well, but the app itself is being sold. So VR content doesn't live in the painful, video-free YouTube, Netflix space yet. It lives in a place which is considered an app, and a lot of you, most of us, are used to paying 99 pence, £1, £2, £3 a small amount of money to get our content and our apps. So I believe that the VR content at the moment has a lot of value, it has worth, and I hope that we can find a new model for content creators and indie developers to actually be able to sell direct. So you're not selling huge amounts, and Apple get their 30%, they always do, same as Android and everybody else. But I think that if you are very clever, there are some new distribution models out there which will really improve the industry as we go forward. But for me, the real stuff is VRX, or as an LA company decided to call it VRE, it's a virtual reality experience. And the thing about that is if we've all tried Rift and Vibes, that feeling of being there is so powerful. And the feeling of having interaction, believing that you are already there. But it has to be made in a game engine. And the thing about game engines is they're really hard. There's no easy way around it, there's so many moving parts, so technical, there's so much of a science behind it that to create good content in that space is tricky. So I'm going to talk about two things.
Can I
just
go
drop the audio? If you haven't seen this, it's just a little ad that HTC put out. They use a green screen and attracted by the camera so they can do an overlay to show you the worlds that they're in. And all of this stuff, if you haven't thrown a virtual stick for a dog, you're missing out. But it's phenomenal. It's not about the visual fidelity though. The funny thing about good VR content in the game engine, that you believe you're there, even if it's a white room with a red box in it. I'll go, wow, this room's really white. And why is there a big red box? Because your senses are calmed. Your senses are fooled to believe you're actually there. So then you've got, like, all bets are off. What reality do I want to create? It doesn't have to be photoreal anymore. It can be anything.
These eyes are so...
So for us, we did two pieces that come out recently. So we did a new piece for Bjork for her digital exhibition. It started off in Sydney, and then it moved to Tokyo, it's moving to London, to Somerset House in September. And we installed Stoneover, which was good, but we installed a new piece called Not Yet, which is one of our recent tracks. And we put 25 vibes in one space. Everyone puts their headset on. And they see this ever-forming version of her, which have particles and embers, and she stands like a little statue in front of you that moves around. And because we're in a vibe space, you can move around too. Some people stand there very quietly. Some people sit on the floor. Some people try and get their head inside her head. And there is no wrong or right way of doing it. And as the piece continues, she becomes to get larger, and particles will flow and everything else. And suddenly you get forces on your hands, which blow and whisper them away. And if you get too close, you reform somewhere else. And so it is an experience. It has some linearity, beginning, middle, and end, driven by the audio track in this case. But every single person goes in and comes out with a different experience of what it was, because we've given you freedom to see it in your way. The other one, and this is the one I encourage you to go and see, because we haven't released this yet, we've only shown it in a few exhibitions, is Home. And so we want BBC Tender at Christmas to create an experiment, so an R&D piece of immersive storytelling in virtual reality. Can they do a scripted narrative which still gives you the illusion of freedom? And for this, we collaborated with NASA, ESA, BBC, and a few interviews with Tim Peake, the astronaut, to let you feel like what it's like to be in space. So you start off inside one of the capsules, you climb outside, you're met by some other astronauts, and you're asked to go and fix some of the stuff on the outside of the space station. As you move through it, you get near the end, and something happens, I'll tell you about it, and then you have to try and make your way back. And it's beautiful, it's absolutely stunning, and it makes you feel like you're there. It really does. There's no real game to it. You don't win or lose, really. And you can take your time. Some people go through it in about 5 minutes if you go fast. Some people can take up to half an hour. We've done some very clever things. And what we're really doing is putting two pins at either end of the narrative. And we put a rubber band around it. And we say, go where you like. But as you get further away from the narrative, the rubber band begins to bring you back again. So everyone feels the same story, but has the illusion of freedom, which is what we've been trying to do for a few times. So this is Tim. We found this video of him talking about VR. This wasn't us, by the way. This is NASA.
and certainly, this...
As you can tell, our model was slightly better.
Also, it's interesting, the feeling of exposure is you get a real sense of the exposure wearing this virtual reality system. So the view of planet Earth is incredible. You can see the Earth rotating beneath you. And I think it helps when you're on exposed parts of the space station like this, up by the alpha magnetic spectrometer. There's not many handrails right
and so the start of it was a factual documentary, and by the end of it they were sending us scenes of gravity. It's slightly going off course, but fair enough. And we start inside one of the air hatches, you go outside, and we got an email, just a cold email to info from someone at NASA saying, I've seen your experience online. I hear you're using Unreal Engine. We're using Unreal Engine to train astronauts. Would you lend us your model? And I got very geeky excited, and I said, of course. I just want to sit in one space shuttle just once. Just a little selfie, that's all I need. And then you can have it. Haven't heard back yet, obviously. We do two other clever things. When we have full installation, we take your heart rate, and we feed that into it, so the experience knows how fast your heart is beating. You can talk to you about it, saying calm down, whatever else. We also use it as for driving audio, so there is no audio in space. And astronauts talk about the ability that they feel the space station. When you're off it, there's nothing there, but when you touch it, all the audio, all the creaking and everything else comes through the suit. And we kind of do some stuff where we feed the heart rate. We also look at your breath as well. So I really recommend you go and have a go at it. Try and get decent headphones, give into it for a little while. It's pretty tricky in conferences because there's always other noises going around and someone in the queue waiting to kick you off. It's going to be released later in the year for every platform ever, which is very nice. And we're going to see how it works. So new formats of VRX though. We're getting close to the end, don't worry, I promise I'm not overrunning. There's no one shouting at me, so it must be a good thing. I think there's going to be a lot of things like this. So Secret Cinema is in London, so you basically get to live in a world with actors and actresses, an immersive theatre for 2 or 3 hours, and then you sit and watch a film. So in VR it's perfect. I want to drive a DeLorean, punch Biff in the face, and then at some point go and sit down on the lawn and watch the traditional movie play out. So I call them a VR vignette, taking my IP and then reusing it. And film and TV companies love this because they get to sell the film again. More things like this. So Punch Drunk Theatre, we just did a project with them with Samsung, where you get it's a mix of VR and immersive theatre and a couple of other clever things. But the idea of being in a universe where 100 actors are playing out a story where you have no agency and no interaction is very easy. You become a ghost within that space. But if you've seen the actual one, it's amazingly empowering, a bit scary as well, that you can beam in there. So in VR, it's perfect. So we'll shoot this thing for every actor's point of view, and you can then hop between them and see their stories. Social is going to be massive. Facebook aren't stupid. They bought Oculus because they think VR is going to be one of the greatest forms of human communication. But if you haven't tried any of the demos where there's more than one of you in it, you really must. It's amazing to see just hands and head set moving around. You can tell who someone is from their mannerisms. And the idea is there's an app on the VR where I put my headset on, my dad puts his on, wherever he is in the world. I see him sitting on a little sofa, and as I look out this big glass window, I'm sitting in a corporate box in Wembley, and we watch a football game together live. I can talk to him like we're really there, but from wherever we're on the planet. There's going to be some very nice things that happen in that space. There's also this device. It's a bit bright, so this is the Fove. We're very lucky to be working with them. They have an eye tracking technology that they put inside the device, so they can tell up to about a high refresh rate of where you're looking. Not only where the headset's looking, but where your eyes are looking. And you can do a few very clever things. First of all, you can make it faster, so if I'm only looking at this bit, then I can de-res everything else around it. Secondly, I know where I'm focusing, so suddenly I can actually do real depth of field instead of keeping everything in focus. And the final thing is I can tell the computer where I'm looking. So if the computer knows and the AI stuff knows where I'm looking, suddenly my characters with it become more intelligent. Or I can also shoot lasers out my eyes, which is kind of cool. But this is if you haven't seen this, it's a bit creepy. I promise I don't work in this industry. But this was a thing called Summer Lessons that PlayStation VR did last summer, maybe summer before. And it's a VR demo, you put the headset on, and you're asked to go in. Are you Japanese? Are you English? If you're English, you teach a Japanese person how to speak English. If you're Japanese, you teach this English girl how to speak Japanese. And it starts off very playful. She's obviously quite pretty and not quite sure what age she is. And she talks to you, and it's all quite cute. And at some point, she then sits next to you and then moves closer and leans into you and whispers in your ear. And it all gets a bit creepily awkward for a little while. And people don't like it, some people like it. And at the very last second, just when the piece finishes, the director comes in and shouts, "Cut!" Walks in and says, "Oh, well done, good acting, where you go," cut, end of the scene. So suddenly makes it all okay that you've been perving on someone that was obviously underage and everything else, because she was an actress and she's old enough. But the whole idea of using technology to allow people to live in other people's shoes and maybe experience things that they could or shouldn't do. But if the character knew where you were looking, she could tell you to fuck off or anything else she wanted to do. And so that intelligence of engaging with characters People are going to fall in love, basically, with their AI boyfriends and girlfriends. There's going to be that level of emotional intelligence connected to these things. And I think it's an interesting space. Not something we're working within, but it's out there. The Brave New World. Some people are worried about this.
You found Cartman like this. You think he somehow trapped in virtual reality?
See, I didn't know if there's any children present, so I thought I'd cut it early. But it's the truth. People are going to worry they're going to be stuck in VR, or want to be in VR more than the real world, because their virtual reality version of themselves is better, more gregarious, lives in a larger house than anything else. And do you know what? I'm not against it. I think some people are too worried about how technology is. I speak to my mum all the time on this, Facebook, we just chat. I don't ring her, I don't see her that often, but we communicate continuously. And I think technology is part of human evolution. We have evolved to this, and we're going to evolve into our connection with technology in a bigger way. There's also going to be things like I'll get onto a plane and I'll have economy, business, first class, and virtual first class. And virtual first class will be a gear VR they give me. I put the headset on, I sit in cattle class, and suddenly, instead of seeing the little seat and large lady and the crying baby, I suddenly see large spacious things. And do you know what? All the walls are glass, so we do a video camera feedback into the headset, so it's like I'm flying in wherever I want it to be. And I then have a cinema-sized screen in front of me instead of a little plane. I did it as a little thing on the way back from New York, try to gear VR and just watch some content. And it was actually very comfortable, because instead of my eyes focusing here for 6 or 7 hours, they focused there because they told me the screen was further away. The only problem was we kind of went around the world, the headset kept rotating towards north, so I had to kind of stop starting again. I'm sure they'll fix that. There'll be VR arcades, so we'll go to these places. I'll ride My Little Pony, you can shoot your friends and orcs, whatever you want it to be. These sorts of things. So the people, The Void just did one with Ghostbusters in Times Square. So backpack headset and you can stroll around in physical space. There'll be running machines. I don't want to do that. I get sweaty just thinking about it, but some people want it. And there'll be force feedback weapons and other kind of things you can wear. This thing, not this weapon itself, but there's a vest you can wear which has covered in solenoids, so when you get shot, it hits you as hard as a dum-dum bullet. Oh, God. That's not really what I want. But some people want that heightened level of immersion. Imagine how much the difference between when you play Call of Duty with a controller and you don't play paintball is a completely different engagement with the process and what you're doing. But for me, the last two things, MR is where we go. So merging realities, mixing realities, depending on who it is. It's definitely just posh AR, and Microsoft definitely just want to call it something else for marketing reasons. They show me a Wikipedia page, no, it's real. I'm like, okay. And this is the marketing video for it. The HoloLens is beginning to get out there. It's very tricky to get it in the UK, it's only sold in the States. We managed to get one, I'm really chuffed about it. And all these look like marketing demos. But the reality is, every single one of these things work. You have the headset on, you see a little bike, you walk over to a buck, and it appears on the real thing. And what it's really doing is 3D scanning everything all the time, so it knows where everything is. It knows where this table is, the floor is, the wall is, and if it knows where everything is, it knows where you are, you can then overlay and place objects onto that. And I said very inflammatory, I said that this technology is fundamentally the biggest technological advancement since we invented fire. It's a bit of a make a bold statement here, but what it really does is augment human intelligence instantly. This does anything. I have the world's knowledge here, but there's a layer between me and it. This thing takes the layer away and gives me instant access to it. So those people with these headsets will have an advantage. Some would say an unfair advantage over those that don't. All the stuff we worry about with Google Glass, this thing can do. And some amazing things outside of it. So that's one of the creepy things, and the facial recognition, scanning, and everything else. But it will change the way people work. I'm going in and out of the office. I spend all my time doing this, and then I come up and I talk to you, and I come back to this. If I can replace this with a HoloLens meeting where I actually see you sitting across the desk, then why do I need to actually commute an hour and an hour out of my office? So there's some interesting stuff there. I haven't got the answers to that, but I'm very excited. There's a company called Magic Leap. They've got almost $2 billion worth of investment, and no one knows anything. There's a wide article, and it's kind of odd. This was their advert for a while. I have it in some hands. God knows what it is. By all intents and purposes, it's some sort of merged reality headset thing. Read a lot of patents. You can kind of guess around the edges. You might want to turn this down a little bit. Coldplay released a music video recently, which is like the best advert for mixed reality. Everything in it, I'm like, oh yeah, I can make that. Oh, I can make that. So, keep the teacups and football games on sponges and the hoping into cloud. If you know where everything is and you have the ability to add into that world, then we can change it. It doesn't have to be this. It doesn't have to just be recreating the same reality. We can make some special things. Some people don't like Coldplay so much. And the final thing is VR for good. I promise it's the final thing. So VR for good is something we found a few years ago. We made this little app, Let's Explore London, through stills and videos on iOS and Android. Feel free to download it. We went for an award at the Rodgers, which is where the first Oscars were. It was protos, it was very much Prosecco and geeks and black t-shirts, less red tie and champagne, but we're getting it. But we were up for an award for this, which was very confusing to me. This lady got a DK1, took it to her grandmother in this hospital, and showed her Tuscany and then drive a car, and she managed to, for a small period, transcend her disabilities. And she managed to travel to London, even though she couldn't fly, and she managed to explore and do something she's always wanted to do. Sadly, she passed away before we found out about it, and since then I've been really confused. Like, if I'm to help people sell things and do entertainment most of the time, but the technology has the fundamental way to change people's point of view and in fact improve people's lives, we should look at that. So we started VRT, so VR Together, which is a non-for-profit, non-commercial organisation where people volunteer time. So me and my competitors, my friends, we all volunteer a day, a week, a month of time, and then people like you volunteer ideas of things you think should get made. So they're non-commercial. They don't have to be world-changing, but some of the things that you just think, actually, there should be a film made by that. There should be a bit of VR. There are anything from changing point of view to actually treating. So post-traumatic stress disorder has been treated by the US Army. They bring people off like war, like decompression. You come back, day one, you put a VR headset on, you see some horrible war. You then go 90, 70, 80, 60, all the way back. Instead of coming off and going cold turkey, which is one of the problems. People are treating phobias, so height, scared of spiders, anything else, public speaking. And then there's also more fundamental things beyond therapy, is that they're showing burns victims in America with snowball fights, and they have a reduction in pain by up to 30%, which is almost a shot of morphine, because they believe they're colder than they are, their senses stay there. So the technology has so many other strange uses that we haven't found, beyond telling cool stories and letting go to space and singing with Bjork, that we feel a lot of this stuff needs to be looked at. Thank you very much for listening. I managed to squeeze it down really, so I ran over slightly. VRtogether.org, VRLO, and rewind.co. Thank you very much. See you soon. I will be around for the rest of the day, and I'll be hanging around in the VR exhibition space if anyone wants to talk more. I don't have time for questions, do I? I have time for one question. Does anyone have one question? Blew everyone's minds. No questions? Thank you. Oh, there's one!
Off the top of my head, are there any sort of ethical concerns that still raises for you?
Are there any ethical questions of VR? Yes. There are. Well, no, there's some really interesting ones. There's ethical questions across the board. Depends where you want to stop the dial and talk about. One of the ones we spoke about recently, and I still don't know whether I've got the answer for it. Maybe it's the wrong audience, but I'll mention it anyway. So, paedophiles, not the worst humans there are on the planet, but they are told that there's something clinically wrong with them. It's not actually anything else. They're broken. So what if in VR you allowed them to do some of the things that they wanted to in a non-harmful way within a treatment session, so that they then don't have those feelings outside of it? Now that to me is an ethical nightmare. But the conversation is something that should be seriously considered outside of it. That's probably the worst of the ethical questions. We could have done anything else, so I do apologise on a Monday at lunchtime. Anyway, fun stuff, cat videos. We'll move on. Thanks very much. We'll speak soon.